Welcome back, guys. This is Art and Culture Monday. Of course, with me, Caren Blessing, and I am not alone. I have a gent with me on set, and we are discussing matters theater and film, and he is already here. So it's about time to give him a chance to introduce himself. Then we will dive right into this conversation. Good morning, Martin.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Yeah. We give thanks.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know I have already called you Martin, but I want you to introduce yourself to guys at home. Ndio wajue who are you, what it is that you do.
Yeah.
And of course, sasa we will dive right in.
Why we are here.
Yes.
So for the guys at home, my name is Martin Kigondu. But it depends.
Yeah.
So my ID and for the government it's Kigondu Martin W, but as an artist it's Martin Kigondu because everyone is comfortable with that.
Yes.
So the way I use this is Martin Kigondu does this, the talking, he does the moving around, he's a filmmaker, a podcaster, but his background is in theater. So I also do write for both film and theater. So that is Martin Kigondu or Kigondu Martin.
Yes, in a nutshell.
In a nutshell,
guys,
yes.
He is kind, but if you go through his bio and the things that he has done, he has actually done pretty much. So I want us to dive right in.
Sure.
You said you started in theater. So I want to know, when did you get into theater? What interested you in getting into theater? Then we will talk your advancement from theater to production. What interested you and when was that?
Well, we're quite young.
Yes.
So I'm still a teenager as a creative.
Yes.
I'm in my 15th year. So that many years ago, immediately after high school, like many other artists, you jump into, instead of going into driving or cooking, you decide to do traveling theater.
Yes.
And that was fun. So I did this for a year or two, after which I noticed that I really felt alive performing.
Yes.
But I knew there had to be more. So I took that time to go around and watch plays that were being staged at the Alliance. I watched everything. Well, at least a play from Heartstrings, from Etsier, I went to the Phoenix Players, and watched a few other things. And it was then that I realized that my style and my interest was mostly done by the Phoenix Players.
Yeah.
So I joined the Phoenix Players in 2009, right when the management was changing.
Yeah.
So Ian Bogwa was leaving, Millicent Ogutu was coming in. So I started off as a stage manager. A year later, I was on stage acting. Then 6-7 years later, I was directing and acting.
Yes.
So by this time, I'm now interested in writing. So I joined the theater company as an actor. But this is also where I really sharpened my skill as a writer.
Yes.
A year later, I did one fine day program for writers. And we're now getting closer to where we are now. So in 2018 is when I decided, it's time to make my shift into filmmaking.
Yes.
So by then, I'd been known for my works as a playwright and as a director for theater. But in 2018, I set out to do my first short film, which is called Red Carpet. Then, before you know it, here we are, 2, 3, 4 years later, and we're still at it. The balance is not where we hoped it would be because 2020 gave us a shift we didn't see coming.
Yes.
But we are grateful.
You are still grateful.
Yes,
I still want to go back to theater kidogo and ask, does you being an actor, before you ventured into writing and directing, does it make you a better playwright if you have been an actor before?
That's a really good question. And I think the simple answer would be yes. It's not, you don't have to be a good playwright. You don't have to have been an actor.
Yes.
You just need to know your style as a storyteller and sort of be ready to, within a year, a couple of years, to sharpen your voice. So not really, but for me, it really worked well because I knew I wanted to be a director.
Yeah.
But I knew to get respect as a director, the actor had to be convinced that I knew what I was talking about.
Exactly.
So I jumped in as an actor, at the back of my mind, hoping that someday I'll get that chance too. So by the time I'm directing, I realized that there was a gap in the material that we were being given. So for instance, the Phoenix Players, it was a repertory theater, which means at any time of the year, there's a show on stage. And the shows are different. So you'd have a musical at this time of the year, you'd have a local play, an African play, Shakespeare, a lot of Shakespeare, a lot of German, Italian, and English plays. So I remember I was in this huge cast and we were given a local playwright who'd forwarded something. And the star in the show was like, this is fantastic material.
Yeah.
And before he said that, because he got that script like 2 days in, when I read the script, I thought it was really weak.
Yes.
But just because so-and-so thinks it is very good,
Yeah.
that it means if these are the leaders of the industry and they
Yes.
think this work is good, then whatever little I'm doing
Exactly.
might be okay.
Yes.
So this is when I got the guts to start pushing forward my work as a writer.
Exactly.
And my time as an actor, well, you never really quit from acting,
Yeah.
did help and made me a better storyteller.
A better storyteller.
For sure.
And I feel like that background also played right into your filmmaking, because there is one thing to borrow, like the entire film industry is borrowing from one another, so you can't really say I'm done with theater now, like, I'm
Exactly.
moving to shooting.
Yeah.
So you started with Red Carpet. How did that go? I want to know the first experience of your very first film.
Yeah.
How did that go?
So a friend of mine and I decided, well, we didn't decide, we talk a lot.
Yeah.
We share a lot around life and being a man, but
Yeah.
also being a creative.
Yes.
So a year ago, we decided to start taking notes on every film experience we have. So you'll find that in my file, I have Red Carpet there, I
Yeah.
have Contained there, and below that, I have notes I took from that experience.
Yes.
So this question takes me right to that page.
Exactly.
And on that page, under Red Carpet, I see collaboration with the DP. Yeah, that was the biggest note from that experience.
Yes.
Not to say we didn't have a good show. It's just that I felt I needed people around me, from the cinematographer to the sound guy,
Yeah.
who are open enough to collaborate.
Yes.
Because in filmmaking, which is like most of the other arts, you get to collaborate a lot. So
Yes.
if the energy around you is condescending, like if the one you're working with thinks, I've been doing this for 10, 15, 100 years,
Yeah.
so you can't tell me nothing, then you probably won't progress.
Yeah.
So from Red Carpet, I'd say, number one, it showed me the importance of good energy with the people you work with.
Yeah.
And number two, it also showed me the importance of humility in creating. But number three, which is probably the most important,
Yeah.
it told me, if you have a story, just tell it. It doesn't have to
Exactly.
please anyone. It doesn't have to be the best. You just have to start.
Exactly.
By starting is how you learn.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
from Red Carpet, you have done many other films, and I know you have learned through them. So for a creative out there who thinks they have a story, your to-go-to word would be start. Just tell the story.
For sure.
Yes,
For
because
sure.
how else would you know what audience like, what they don't like, if you haven't given them anything to, to follow through?
Exactly.
After Red Carpet, how many other films have you done?
Well, not so many. So it's been within the last 3 years, because that's 18, 19, 20, 21. Okay, so within
Yeah.
the last 3-4 years,
Yeah.
I've been on a couple of projects, but as a producer and writer, I've been in around 6 or 7 projects.
Yes.
Of course, as an actor, there's always a couple of pilots in there,
Yes.
which you never talk about
Yes.
up till you make it,
Yeah.
or the projects make it.
Yeah.
No wonder when you asked a question, even before you started, I was like, probably no comment on that. So I would
Exactly.
say I've been in, say, 7 projects,
Yeah.
but 5 of them credited to myself as a writer / director,
Yes.
and at times producer actor.
Yes. I want now to narrow down, to come back home and ask, what inspires most of your work? Like what specific topics that are very close to your heart that you feel, okay, gender violence, I think that I can include myself. What are a number of the topics that your work revolves around?
I would say, of course, if someone was to sit down and look at my work,
Yes.
they'd see a through line, and they'd be
Exactly.
like, this is what this guy goes for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly, right now, I'd only say if it is profound for me or to me,
Yes.
then I have the urge to write it. I have the urge to do it.
Yeah.
So, for instance, Red Carpet was about a young girl's first experience with her menses. And this is because I remembered a story or an experience as a boy
Yeah.
I had of a classmate back in primary school
Yeah.
experiencing that, and it was foreign to me because I didn't have sisters and etc. etc.
Yeah.
So it was a surprise for me. Then I went on to tell this story. But
Exactly.
coming to my other short films, there's always somewhere I meet with a story, because more or less an idea of a story is when 2 hunches meet. Yeah.
Yes.
So you'll read a story, you'll come across something and think, oh, there's something there.
Yeah.
So what to do? Write it down, because at some point another hunch will come,
Yes.
and these two will collide and your spark happens.
Yes.
So I wouldn't say I'm attracted to a certain theme or topic, because as a playwright, I'm known for my works looking at the politics in Kenya, but from a very humane and human side.
Yes.
But again, is it profound? If it is to me, I'll probably do it.
Yes.
As a filmmaker, my stories have been, like, we've just watched Gatarashaine.
Yes.
Gatarashaine was, like, the way this story came to me, I was heading to my grandma's place in Embu.
Yeah.
So as we were driving, I saw a bridge. And that was a hunch. I was like, ooh, I'd like to do something around a bridge. Yeah. Then I remembered, I won't give too many details so that I'm not judged because of what people have watched. I remember an experience I had when I was younger. Yes. So these two hunches collided, and there I saw the story. Exactly. And I wanted to write it because I was laughing all through. Yeah. By the time I got to my grandmother's place, I knew how it would be. I knew how it would go. Exactly. I even had ideas on who I might cast. So stories come from anywhere. Just be open as a creative to observing. Yes. Yeah, you don't have to have a message.
So I deal with politics or with gender violence, so I'm looking for a story around that. So other alternatively, it comes from the story falls into a certain genre. At the end of the day, it will fall into a certain category that you're actually working with. Sure. Well, that is interesting. As a playwright, how long does it take for you to write one play?
Yikes. So I don't know where to start with this, because I know a lot of people who write material in a very short time, in a couple of months, and sure, good for them. Yes. I prefer to have my work being done over years. Yes. So for instance, my latest play before the COVID season was Matchstick Men. Yes. I wrote Matchstick Men for roughly about 8 months. Yeah. But this is the shortest play I've ever written, like in terms of timing. Before that, What Happens in the Night and What Happens at Dusk had each taken around 2 years. Yes. Yeah, a year and a half, because when the hunch comes, you start with the first scene. You don't have to start like chronologically. This is scene 1, act 1. Yes. It's just, I see the conversation. At times I even start with monologues. Then with time, as I observe, as I see, as I listen, then the story starts coming up. I know the characters I'm playing with. I understand that world. So for me, it takes between 6 months to 24 months. Yes. Yeah. And a good team helps in this? Like, do you invite ideas, you know, this is what I'm working on, guys, or this is what I'm working on, pal? Do you get ideas from here and there from them? Well, I would say a good team is very advisable if you're writing a TV show. Yes. Yeah. So you'd need a writing team. This is a good idea. Yeah. And this falls off the back of my training with One Fine Day and Ginger back in the day. Yeah, because I understood the essence of having a team as you're writing, particularly serial formatted TV material, so TV series. But with a short film, I prefer not indulging that many people with my thoughts. I like working on the structure, working on the dialogue. Then at some point when I'm ready, expose it to a few people to read. And not, hey, read this and give me notes. It's, let's meet on this day. I'll buy you guys tea and we'll sit and we'll read and we'll have a good time. Then you can tell me what you think. Chances are I won't use what you tell me. Chances are I won't even think it's the greatest thing, but someone might spark something, and then I'll be glad I did it. But reading also gives me, organizing readings, that is, having people read your work, even as a playwright, gives me the confidence to listen, to hear, and to believe in this work. Yes, and also to see how people have taken it in. Exactly. Because that is also important, because that's like a small sample size will help you know how the larger audience will react to it. It sure does. Okay, I want us to come back home. COVID-19, how has COVID-19 affected your production? Yes. Okay. So the thing with being a creative in this industry, we have to juggle like a couple of balls, yeah? So for instance, as a theater producer, I knew by the end of a year, I'd have at least 2 productions. So in between, so I also teach. I teach speech and performance. So when I'm doing that, I know at the end of this month, I'm supposed to have this number of rehearsals as I'm teaching. But then COVID came and schools were closed. COVID came, our rehearsal spaces and theaters were closed. So I decided, you know what, let me now pivot, put all my energy into podcasting and filmmaking. So Did it help? Sure, it gave me the chance to sit and now really think about my work. But in truth, I didn't put that much work because I was disoriented.
Yes.
The things that you do as a teacher and the things that you do as a playmaker have been stopped.
Yes.
And you want to say, now I have time to rest, but you really do not feel alive. So that really affected especially my mental. Thankfully, by then, we were editing one of my films. So what happened was around May, now we are 2 months into this year with COVID, I lost a friend of mine, So, such is life. Her time to transit had come, and I'm finally at peace with that. So Koi Wamithi had just done her first feature film. So a month after and it's a wrap. She passed on, and this deeply affected me. So as I sat in my house, 3rd week, 4th week, just eating and sleeping and binging on stuff, it hit me that I could actually make a film about it, about the process in order to heal. And one of my closest collaborators as a DP is Jackson. So Jackson Kangede, I called him up. We shared Koi as a friend, and he just DP'd that particular feature. Called him up, told him, I have this idea of commemorating her life, but also showing how it is much of a struggle as a creative or as just an adult going through this thing we've never gone through. And that is how Contained was born. So as much as the last one here has been full of pain and disorientation, Contained came. And Contained is a short film about a couple figuring out this COVID season. And it is myself and Akinyi as actors. But since we wouldn't want to have a crew of, I think, more than 10, so we just made the film as four of us. So Jack did the cinematography and lighting and everything. I did the directing, the acting, and the writing, and the producing. Akinyi was the star, and we had an assistant who did everything else. So that is the long answer to my what happened during COVID-19.
So you actually did a whole short film by 4 people doing a lot of everything and everything, because now you can't involve a crew that is very big through COVID-19.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's what you were talking about. The spark was found in a very strange, sad place, but the spark was found. So you did come up with Contained, and I'm glad about that. Can we take this moment to talk about Akinyi and what she is doing, because I feel this is about the perfect time.
Well, Akinyi is you just asked when you think of Kenyan film, who comes to mind? Well, for me, Akinyi has to be one of those people. Not because she's been in 10 million films, but because she has the it as an actor. She has the it as a poet. So Akinyi has done, and I hope she's watching this, has done her degree in psychology at Daystar. But she's been a poet and an actor for the longest time. She's actually just came out as a poet not too long ago. So within the last 6 months, she's slammed, she's won things. But she's been into therapy for the longest time and into performance. So she got this opportunity to go do her master's in Canada. And she's now trying to raise funds for that. So for the guys who are watching, you can check out Akinyi Oluoch. And I'm sure at some, you've actually shared the details there. So on that pay bill, whatever amount you want to send, our encouragement is that let us empower the artists as they are right now, so that in a few years' time we can say, oh, we planted these seeds and we are eating the fruit from these trees. For sure.
And like Martin has said, she has the it. I feel like sometimes it's either you got it or you really don't. And if you happen to got it, you really, like, you are one of the luckiest people. So guys, you are asking how we can support artists in Kenya. That is right. That is one way. The pay bill number is right there. Of course, you can go look for her, Akinyi LC Oluoch, social media. If you really want to find her, you will find her on Instagram, on Facebook. Just inbox and throw in whatever it is that you can, and let us plant these seeds. I'm sure once she's done with her masters, once she's sprouts out, we are going to be proud. We are going to be saying we have been part of this journey, and I feel that is pretty interesting. No, you have mentioned your team, I think, throughout, but I want you to give them a specific shout out. Jackson Kangede has been right here on KUTV, so you know we we are not bragging, but you know, we are those people. Yeah. So I'd like you to give a shout out to them. And of course, to your students that you teach. I'm sure you get some of your cast from people that you have seen grow from nothing to something that they are right now. So it's about time.
Oh, it's about time, yeah? So the projects I'm working on right now,
Yes.
my collaborator is, some of them you guys will actually know.
Yeah.
So my collaborator at the moment is Bo Muigai,
Yeah.
Wamboi. She's a phenomenal cinematographer,
Yeah.
and we have at least 2 films in the works. So shout out to her. She has to be, for me, the greatest cinematographer yet, but not to take anything away from Kangede, who's phenomenal as well. I love Kangede with all my heart. It gets awkward when I look at him. I'ma call him and tell him, hey, dude, you know I love you. Because it's fine for men to tell men that they love each other. We don't have that many years here.
Yes.
So Kangede is phenomenal, both as a cinematographer and also an editor. When it comes to sound, one of my favorite people has to be Karanja. Karanja Kiarie is phenomenal, award-winning when it comes to sound, both on location, but sound design is his niche. He's a salt bay when it comes to that. I also work with a guy called Fulami. Fulami is a music producer. He's actually the one who worked on the sound design for Contained. And these are more or less the people I surround myself with. Someone who's not with us in the country is Alice Kombani. So she co-produced Contained and another 2 or 3 projects we've done together. So she's also one of my favorite producers. So shout out to Alice out there in the world. So
guys, I hope you're noting down those names, because these are important people. These are the people behind the great works that we see. You know, we will come here, recognize the actor, the actress, have fun about it, but a lot of work was put for us to have amazing Kenyan films. We were having that discussion a couple of weeks ago. This is Art and Culture Monday, so that is basically all we talk about. And we were talking about how the quality of the Kenyan films has gone high, has gone up. Like, you would watch that and the video is making sense, the audio is clear. I remember back in my campus, our lecturer alikuwa anaitwa Laban, I hope you're watching. He used to tell us we can stand good or we can stand bad video but not bad audio. Like that clarity of that audio, the ambience that we need to hear, and that means the quality of our films has really increased, thanks to people like you and every other co-worker, every other colleague that you are actually working with. I feel we wouldn't do you justice if we live here without talking about your podcast. Busy being born. One, I think that is a very interesting title, topic to pick. What do you do in Busy Being Born?
Busy Being Born. So first off, maybe the genesis of where the title came from would help the people understand why we talk about what we talk about. So Bob Dylan, who was a big rock star back in the day, so we are talking about the hippie season, this is 60s and the 70s and maybe 80s, used to say, if you're not busy being born, then you're busy dying. So we took that and decided to make it our own, and so we say, if you're not busy being born, then you're probably not living. All we are saying is, every breath that you get, every opportunity you get to see another day, first of all, is a blessing. Man, number 2, you have to be conscious of constantly wanting to improve yourself. You have to dream about being better, but not only dream, but also work to be better. So what we do, ours is a long form podcast, meaning we are not there for 7 minutes or half an hour. We are there for like 2 hours, 1 hour, 30 minutes.
Wow, amazing.
And Joe Rogan has done this, Tim Ferriss has done this, but we noticed that the African ecosystem doesn't have this. And just because a lot of people enjoy shorter podcasts doesn't mean there's no Martin Kigondu or my co-host Kamande who actually love long form podcasts. So what we do is we host high performing guests from every corner. So for instance, our first episode was with Alice Kombani. We've done Tony Moshama, we've done Anji Mwandanda. One of our next releases is Eric Wainaina. So we sit down with these guys and we talk for a whole hour about why they are, who they are, what mistakes they've done, but also what improvements they've consciously worked on
Yes.
or learnt from. So that's the
Yes.
Busy Being Born podcast.
And constantly. Wow, guys, if you are a lover of podcast, if you are not, start being one. We said audiences of Art and Culture Monday, we have to be like in check in some areas like such podcasts. So Busy Being Born is the podcast you're looking forward, you are looking up this week. Find it. Where can we find it?
Everywhere.
Yes.
So our home is the Podbean app.
Yes.
But the way we've set our account up is you can find it anywhere. So if you're on your Spotify,
Yeah.
if you're on the easiest would definitely be your Google podcast. So
Yeah.
as long as you have a Gmail,
Yes.
you have the sort of platform to listen to a podcast.
Yes.
Pale tuju on your right corner, enda to Google Podcasts and search the Busy Being Born podcast. But even if you Google it,
Yeah.
we are on every platform.
Exactly.
You
So
don't even have to have an app.
Yes, the
Yeah.
easiest platform you will find, chukua hiyo, Busy Being Born. You will love it, guys. You will love these conversations. And I think that is what definitely life is about. If you're not constantly like being born, learning new things, perfecting certain things,
Yeah.
rectifying such
Unlearning.
things. Yes, and learning some habits and learning some things. I think that is important. Finally, I want to ask what you're working on currently, but I think he has a couple of projects. Amekataa kujibu hiyo swali. No, so let me ask, in how long should we expect something from you? Because I know things are cooking.
Yeah.
A lot of, like you have said, a lot of pilots will be going back and forth, but in how long should we expect as a short film from your side?
From
Yes.
Well, I'm really uncomfortable when I always feel the pressure.
Yeah.
And I always get the pressure even when we release material,
Yes.
because you'll release a thing and within a week guys are like, so there. So
Yes.
I prefer just working on stuff.
Yeah.
In my own pace, so not to put people down in any way.
Yeah.
Of course, expect something because we are. As long as we are alive, we're constantly working as
Yeah.
creatives. But the soonest, maybe 2 years between now and then, you can listen to the podcast. But
Yes.
who knows? In 2 weeks, I might release something. I'm just taking the time thing away so
Yes.
that I don't
So
feel
that
the
you
pressure.
don't feel the pressure.
Yeah.
And then, guys, I think from his previous works, we can tell we are waiting for content, we are waiting for quality. So I think quality over time, anytime.
For sure. I always say I don't mind having 10 phenomenal films if it means not doing 50 million films.
Yes.
I'd rather have 10 good ones.
Yes.
I'd rather have 9 phenomenal plays that live
Exactly.
almost forever than have, again, 50 million plays,
Yes.
even as an actor as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want us to conclude. Sadly, our time is
Sure.
far much gone. But I want us to talk, how do you feel the current Kenyan film industry? How do you feel about it? Are we heading to a certain nice direction? Before you give us social media handles, ndio tukustalk left, right, and center to know what you're doing and what is cooking.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I love, and I'll talk about myself, and I'm sure this will be for a lot of creatives as well. I love my country so much,
Yeah.
but I feel my country doesn't return the love as much.
Yes.
And not the people, but the governance.
Yes.
So yes, we have improved. Yes, looking at us compared to everyone else in Africa, we are probably among the best, especially when it comes to the craft of storytelling. We still have a lot to work on,
Yeah.
but technically, we are pretty good such that everyone else is borrowing from Kenya.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the ecosystem here is almost as if working to drown us as
Yeah.
creatives.
Yeah.
And you would want to say, yes, my dad is good because he pays for my school fees. But if my dad is constantly beating me, is constantly abusing me, is
Yeah.
constantly making me feel less, then it doesn't matter whether he pays
It
fees.
doesn't
So
add up. Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
So this is actually how I feel. And I normally don't like talking about it because I don't feel like I can make any change.
Yeah.
Unajua? So I just bend and create,
Yeah.
and we get our tribes. Like by tribes, I mean filmmakers who speak a common understanding,
Yes.
a common language, a common desire.
Yeah.
But the government is doing a lot of PR.
Yes.
It's almost like what the Nairobi County used to be. A lot of PR, but very little actual work.
Yes.
So I wouldn't say much about KFC and KFCB and all that. I'll just say there's so much more room to
Yes,
improve.
to improve.
Yeah, and I hope I hope the ones who get these seats where they can do something actually do it not because that's their job, but because this is actually something they owe Kenyans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, but for now, I feel like help will come from within. We can't afford to rely on the government per se. Of course, you guys in the government, in this seat, in KFCB, do something about it. But for now, because it is our tribe, it is us who are going to be affected if things are not going right. So it's upon us to shikane, collaborate, network, uku na uko. Like, I feel very privileged. I had a couple of names that I am waiting to meet because of the work that they are doing. So I cannot wait for that. Finally, social media handles and anything that you feel haukutaka kutoka hii show without saying.
I didn't have any particular thing. Nilikuwa, I'm here for a good conversation and a good time. So number one is to say thank you for doing at least due diligence on a bit of research, and thanks for that. Thanks for this platform, and to your producer and to your team. Number two is you can find me on Instagram and Twitter as @Kigondu, KIGONDUW. So that's Twitter and Instagram. On Facebook, I'm Martin Kigondu for the page where I just put everything out. For the podcast, is a Busy Being podcast, and for my production company, it's Prevail Arts Company on Facebook, and on Instagram it's Prevail Beyond Entertainment, and the Beyond is misspelt with a double E, because fun fact, the bees as of 2019 were classified as in danger of extinction, and humanity can live for 50 years at most without bees.
Wow.
And 70% of our food as humanity is thanks to bees and pollination and all that. So the moment we forget that bees are important to our existence, we are done. We are heading there to non-existence. Final question, my director feels you should not leave here without answering. Is there recycling of content in the film industry? What do you mean by that question?
And is it good? Like, if you are covering a specific topic, say gender violence, of course there are a million ways to cover it, but do you feel like every time you mention a Kenya film, you can almost predict, you can almost, itakuwa relationship, itakuwa, like, and is it a good thing? Like, are we, you know, there's good recycling, we can do the material from a different perspective, but is it there, and is it good or bad, a bad thing?
I would say we all have a million stories within us. And we might find that a good number of them actually are the same. It's only that from different perspectives. So I don't mind whether stories are redone, quote unquote, but are they well done? This is a question to us. So if you feel I really have to put my voice on this, then ask yourself, is it unique to you? Is it original? For my case, I'll just ask, is it profound? For me, then hopefully someone else would think so too.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Martin. Guys, I know you have learned, not 1, 2, but I know you have learned 3 or many more things from this conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking the time. I feel like, it is about time we mention these names, these creatives that are doing amazing work. Showcase our work, because that is what we are here to do. I don't get it. If I cannot showcase that film on this local television, what am I doing here then? So thank you so much for coming through. I hope that we have given you justice for your time.
Yes, you have.
That
thank you.
Has been Martin, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. I'm waiting for your comments. Pale Facebook, of course, on 0739110544. We are going to be having a sneak peek of another short film that Martin has done. Kidogo to just to show you the amazing work. And then you can subscribe, like that work, comment on it. Let them know where they ought to, to change or what they are doing good. That is how we improve. Right about now, though, we take a very short break. We will be right back.